put the children to bed. It's time for Dan and Aldo to bare their souls.
I love the Chicago Bears more than I do masturbating, and that is a lot.
Then, with 3 seconds left, Bob Avellini throws a 30-something-yard touchdown pass to Greg Latta, and the Bears win, and I literally shit my pants. I swear to God, I literally did.
Eric Kramer, for me, I love the guy. He's a tragic figure. I mean, he embodies all that is.
If they don't run the ball here, I'm going to vomit. I swear to God.
Look, I don't mean any disrespect. He just didn't play that well. Not for a guy of his caliber.
Shut the fuck up.
You know, they won, but I'm going to be miserable all week because they stunk.
I don't really have any recollection of that at all, but I guess perhaps I blacked it all out.
It's fake news, Dan, and you know it, I know it, everyone knows it, including you.
So, Dan, tape is the ultimate tool for scouts and for coaches to evaluate players, to detect plays and so forth, and they spend hours looking at tape, right? Why do they so often get shit wrong?
Jesus Christ, Aldo.
I love the efficiency of bourbon.
Ladies and gentlemen, Dan and Aldo.
Look who's here, Dan Aguirre. No, it's not Dan Aguirre. It is my good friend, soon to be married. You got a date yet for the marriage?
Not an official date, an official month, December of 25.
Nice. It is, of course, Vinnie Parise, one of the stars of the Barroom Network, covers hockey under the show Bar Down Talking Hockey with his good friend, Frank. It's your cousin, right? Frank,
My friend and my cousin.
Okay.
Kinda. Sometimes
really-
he's my friend. He doesn't piss me off.
They really do a great job covering the entire NHL and, of course, the Chicago Blackhawks. Their show now is being moved to Friday afternoons, right? Right at noon, is that?
Yep,
Okay.
right at noon.
Right, because they've been on hiatus for a little while, and they're back to share their hockey knowledge with all of us. It should be an interesting season. We'll talk more about hockey later, but you and I, about 10, 15 minutes ago, Hard Knocks ended, and you and I got here with tears in our eyes.
It was amazing. I mean, you know, I've heard the critiques about Hard Knocks. I'm a frequent listener of Dan and Aldo. I was getting kind of giddy. I don't know if you looked at me when I was backstage. I was like, ooh, that intro. This is the first time they brought me on since the week I started Bar Down 2 years ago. I came on and promoted the show, and you never invited me back. So what the hell? No, I'm kidding. But yeah, it was a little bit of emotional episode there, especially at the end. But you know, all of our thoughts and prayers are with Mr. Ian Wheeler and his family as he'll get to be part of the team now, which I guess is a positive of it. Spoiler for anybody who hasn't seen the episode, but if you're tuning into Dan and Aldo bare their souls without watching the episode of Hard Knocks, that's kind of like viewer discretion is advised, right?
Exactly. And Dan is not here. He had to take care of some work. He's covering a high school football game, and we were hoping to do the show on Thursday along with Bears Country Productions, but that didn't work out. So we are here for an hour and a half, maybe 2 hours. And Joe Mando says, Vinny, just like Dan Aguirre, has also blown Marilyn Manson.
That's right. That's an R-rated show. I got to channel my inner weirdo to be on this show, don't I? And especially replacing a character like Dan Aguirre. Yes, I will take on that mantra of the guy that has also blown Marilyn Manson.
I love it. Johnny Santucci, hopefully, I think he's going to join us a little later because I saw in our stock footage stuff here, he's listed some stuff. So what the hell has he got going on there? Okay. Should be interesting. And for those of you who are just gathering into the barroom, the numbers from all of our services is creeping up to 100. Hopefully we'll have several hundred more. But for those of you who are watching on YouTube now, please take a look at this.
Okay, guys and girls, if you like what you see,
give us a like, press the bell, and subscribe. Thank you, Sweetie Pies.
I got to come up with a name for her, Vinny. If you can think of anything clever, let me know.
What would stir up some trouble at the bar?
That's right. Tooch, I'm sure we'll have some names. Tooch, give me a thumbs up when you're ready. He just popped in backstage. He's got some tissue in his hand. He's wiping. What the hell are you doing, Tooch?
He's channeling his inner Dan Aguirre. When you're on, he's showing up with the tissue.
That's right.
You know what that thing's for.
That's right. Absolutely, dude. It's an interesting story. We'll get to it when Tooch gets in. But the fact that he saw you play Little League Baseball, so we'll talk a little bit about that later. But let me get back to Hard Knocks because that was a very touching scene, as you said, with Ian Wheeler and his mom. It was so sad. That guy is definitely good enough to play at the NFL level. And it was interesting, the episode, how it was constructed to show his progress, show the mistakes he's made in practice, show how the coaches like him, were giving him some hard love during practice and so forth. And the guy, one of the reasons he immediately appealed to me when I heard he was signed as an undrafted free agent was that he went to Howard University, he's studying to be a doctor, and he runs a 4.344, something like that. I was like, okay, this is an interesting prospect. He didn't disappoint at all, and like you said, Vinny, I hope that he does, somehow get through a successful surgery and can stick the year out, and then comes back to camp next year ready to rock and roll. But Velus Jones looks pretty good at that running back position, right?
He sure does. Now, a guy like Wheeler coming out of Howard, I like when smart guys come in the NFL and you're like, oh, that dude's really smart. Football's a smart people game. Dumb people watch it, of course, but it's a smart people game in order to play. And so to see a guy like that have such success, I think we were all rooting for him from the beginning, and he proved us all right. And of course, the injury is going to be the end of it. But for Velus Jones, I mean, when he was at Tennessee, man, he was one of their guys, because you might remember in that draft, it was like the Bears need a wide receiver like they need air to breathe. It was like it was the number one thing, someone to have Justin Fields throw the football to. And they didn't have a first or second round pick from the billions of drafts that they traded all their picks from prior to that. And so the needs were a little different at the time. Velus Jones, he came in Tennessee. They were great that year, and he never really hit his stride, and he had plenty of opportunity to hit his stride. In fact, I'm pretty sure he didn't dress, if I recall correctly. Again, stupid. If I recall correctly, he didn't dress the first 2 games of his NFL career or something like that. But then when he came out, he had the fumble and the kickoff return wasn't going too well for him. All these things that kind of were going against him. And then it was just kind of like treading water the rest of the way. So he comes into this camp looking to make the team. And he, spoiler alert, did, after kind of converting to running back. Although I thought it was interesting, he was listed as a wide receiver on the Bears official post today. But, he played wide receiver almost exclusively in the preseason. And hey, he had a great final audition against the Kansas City Chiefs in Kansas City, albeit being against podcasters and Walmart workers that are, on the Kansas City Chiefs 3rd and 4th team defense. No disrespect to those guys. I'm obviously joking. Everybody works hard. But Velus Jones, man, he earned his spot to be on this team, and we'll see what he's able to do with it once the regular season starts. I don't know if they both would have made it. I'd love to hear your and Tuch's thoughts on that. I think there's a chance, but it definitely opened the door for him to dominate in the second half of that game and have 111 rushing yards, and then ultimately make the team in the end.
Well, we learned today from Gabriel Talks Football that Greg got a message from somebody in the New Orleans Saints organization asking, do you think Velus Jones is going to make the squad? Clearly, the question was with the intention of seeing if they could potentially pick up Velus Jones on waivers, and maybe even, they might have been interested in calling Ryan Poles to work out a deal for him, because what Greg said is, he's played good. I don't know what they're going to do, but he's probably going to make it. And then Greg sent a text over to Ryan Poles, and Ryan Poles replied, because he told him, who who texted him, and Ryan Post replied, yeah, he ain't going nowhere. So that leads me to believe they probably would have cut Ian Wheeler and then tried to sneak him into the practice squad, because the fact of the matter is that every team has an undrafted free agent running back. And Wheeler went through 7 rounds of football. Nobody drafted him. He probably got other offers, or maybe didn't get many other offers while as an undrafted free agent, but he lands with the Bears. I think other teams would have said, well, we'll keep the guy who's gone through training camp as opposed to gambling on Wheeler, unless they really loved him a lot. But I got a feeling it would have been Wheeler. Now, hopefully, though, he's on IR. When he got injured in the game last Thursday, I was thinking to myself, okay, he's faking it. The Bears tell him, fake an injury so we can put you on IR. but it was definitely true, man. That hug, which lasted forever with Ian Wheeler and his mom. My wife and I are like, look at each other. You want to start crying first, or should I?
I'm crying.
I was bawling because obviously you saw the tweets a couple days ago. As soon as that touchdown got waved off, I knew in the episode, obviously remember it from the game, but when it got waved off in the program, they started coming down because I'm like, I know what they're going to show next. It's coming. This is it. And sure enough, it is what it is. I like that a little tidbit from Mr. Gabriel, though. That is some interesting stuff. You like to think the Bears were the only team that kind of gave him an offer when the draft was over. I mean, why would anybody ultimately choose the Bears at that point in time? Why would the Bears be like, oh, I got offers from Kansas City, San Francisco, Jacksonville, and Chicago. You know who I'm going to pick? The Bears. You know, that just doesn't seem logical. So
and knowing that they had 3 running backs already in Swift, Herbert, and Johnson. So you're absolutely right.
And they have 3, like you said, 3 running backs. And kind of the only thing they don't usually fuck up is like their running backs, right? You could go back decades and decades of crappy football with really good running backs. Yeah. So it's not necessarily the team where you're looking to join the overcrowded room, but that was his choice. And I really, really, Aldo, I hope he stays mentally in it this season. I almost wish I could just be like on his shoulder all season long and be like, work, Ian, let's go. Let's get this rehab done. You got this. You are going to make the team next year, and go into July believing he can do it, because it would be a real cool story.
Yeah, absolutely. That would be a good Hard Knocks episode or series during the season too. Steven Zimmerman, your co-host on South Burbs Hitman, says there was a lot of hype on this show for 2 guys that aren't on the team. So yeah, you know, and but those were heartwarming special stories, so I'm sure that's why they picked them. Speaking of heartwarming and special, there's a guy I know named Johnny Santucci, who I consider one of the most heartwarming guys I've ever met. Johnny Santucci, look at, he's asleep.
I'm Adrian Colbert.
That's right. I think they took that a little too far. Yeah, I want one of those too.
I want to play with it. Maybe I'll find some inner peace and stop calling myself stupid every 5 minutes. You are smart and worthy.
I got to apologize to Bears Barflies. I'm on every show this week.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, I'm tired of you already. It's only Tuesday.
I'm sure the chat's like sick to death of me.
Wait till Sunday afternoon.
They love you. Tooch, you got a Bear State of Affairs, I'm assuming?
Ready to roll.
Should we go straight to that? And then after that, we'll talk about whatever you talked about in State of Affairs. And
I'll set the table.
All right.
Set the stage.
You got to give him that huck to and spit on that thing. You get me?
Go get them, Tooch. Go get them.
Yeah, all right. Bears State of Affairs. Hard Knocks preseason week 4. What's happening, Barflies? Well, the preseason is over, and the Bears finished 4-0 while outscoring their opponents 115-47 over 4 games this preseason. Now, last Thursday, the Bears beat the Kansas City Chiefs 34-21 in a game that really wasn't as close as you'd think. After 3 quarters, the Bears led the Chiefs at Arrowhead 34-7 before allowing 14 points in the fourth quarter. And like last week, the undefeated Bears looked really good, and the bottom of their roster depth looked better than expected. Some highlights from the game: 111 yards on 13 carries.
Ay, Dios mío.
The beautiful 39-yard cutback touchdown run for the Ferret King, Velus Jones. And 6 catches for 99 yards for Tyler Scott that cemented both of their roster spots. Yeah, number 2 quarterback Tyson Bagent definitely ran the new offense and scrambled for a touchdown. That was beautiful. Diving for the right pylon in a gravity-defying run. On defense, it was the Reddy Stewart show as the undrafted rookie out of Troy had 2 interceptions for 59 yards and a touchdown. Though Stewart was cut today, you're all thinking he's a prime candidate for the practice squad, right? Meanwhile, I'm thinking, what the hell does this kid have to do to make the team? Come on. Yeah. Adrian Colbert had some really nice plays, too, including a beautiful diving deflection. More on Colbert later. Today was cut down day. And like Greg Gabriel said today, cut down day is a brutal day for football players. Over 1,000 players will find themselves searching for their next opportunity after today. Several players will sign on to practice squads throughout the league starting tomorrow. And a lucky few might get plucked off waivers and placed on an active roster somewhere. But for many, this was their last opportunity. Meanwhile, the Bears placed 5 players on injured reserve. Offensive lineman Larry Borum and defensive lineman Jacob Martin were placed on short-term IR, meaning they could return after 4 weeks. Yep, and Dante Pettis, wide receivers Dante Pettis and Simba Webster, and running back Ian Wheeler were placed on season injured reserve. Wheeler, a Hard Knocks favorite, tore his ACL against the Chiefs, ending his season. But some notable roster cuts for the Bears were quarterbacks Austin Reed and Brett Rippon, running back Kari Blossegame, wide receiver Colin Johnson, defensive lineman Byron Cowart, linebacker Micah Baskerville, offensive lineman Jatiri Carter, and defensive backs Greg Stroman and Adrian Colbert. What the hell? Colbert had a powerful segment on Hard Knocks episode 4 where he talked about being hit by a car. He was in a coma for 2 weeks and almost lost his life. And then they showed him riding a bike.
No traffic, though.
He's still riding bikes, man. You think he learned his lesson? Jesus. Yeah, some of these players are candidates for the practice squad, like quarterback Austin Reed. So maybe Aldo and I don't have to say goodbye to our favorite Hard Knocks MILF, Austin Reed's mom.
That's right.
Yeah. Some notable players who made the team are wide receiver DeAndre Carter, defensive ends Daniel Hardy and Dominique Robinson, linebacker Eamon Ogbogbemiga. I know Aldo will never be able to pronounce that.
Nope.
It's Ogbogbemiga. The offensive lineman, Doug Kramer.
You are.
And this guy.
You are gay.
Oops, sorry.
This guy, offensive lineman Bill Murray. He made the team. Barfly favorite. Yeah.
That's a fact, Jack.
Yep. In fact, the Bears are 12 days away from their season opener, a home game against the Tennessee Titans. It's the first regular season game for Caleb Williams. Yeah, there have been flashes of greatness this preseason, and understandably, Bears fans are excited from everything we've seen. And Caleb is an exciting player and a good kid with a good head on his shoulders, and Bears fans are anxious to start the Caleb Williams era. In fact, they've already forgotten the last 2 first-round quarterbacks the Bears selected. Heck, we've already forgotten that Mitch and Justin were supposed to be the next franchise.
I do not recall that.
Doesn't ring a bell.
Sorry, I have no recommendation of that. No.
I do not recall any of that. This Abdul. I do not recall. No, I don't recall.
You do recall it? No, I don't recall that at all.
That's good.
Nobody remembers Justin or Mitch.
That's good. Very good.
Yeah. All this offseason, the Bears worked methodically to give Williams the best possible chance for a successful rookie season. Their offseason plan included upgrades to the supporting cast, hiring an offensive staff that excels at teaching, methodical mapping of checkpoints for Caleb's first season, and handing him the starting job on day one. All these things have Williams primed for liftoff when the Bears open the season on September 8th against the Titans. And by all accounts, it feels like Caleb is ready to really going about things the right way. For example, I love this kid, man. For example, after his last season at USC, Caleb got a hold of Tom Brady's cell number to pick his brain and is now following his diet and training routine.
Pretty cool.
Yeah, and recently he reached out to Michael Jordan's old trainer with the Bulls to see what made him an icon in Chicago. Caleb is chasing greatness and going about it in all the right ways to achieve it, reaching out to past legends to create his own legend. And that's Bears State of Affairs, man.
Woo-hoo!
That was great.
Nice job, Tooch. Very, very nice.
That was intense. That was intense.
Yes, it was. Yeah, what I like best about it is you went through all of the roster moves today, so that we don't have to go into detail about it. You got it done.
You're not getting out of it this easy. All know.
we can just break it down. We don't need to be like, oh, this person got cut and that person got cut.
Yeah.
Well, so let me start with you, Vinny. Was there a person that you were disappointed that was released today? I mean, he might be back in the practice squad, or he might be, but any particular player that you said, oh shit, man.
Tooch kind of touched on it. Adrian Colbert. I was a little taken back by the fact that he didn't make the team. I thought he was going to. He played well in the preseason. By the way, the thing you said about him with the bike, he got it. Let me tell you what I wouldn't be doing as an adult if I got hit by a car on a bike when I was 9 years old. I probably wouldn't be riding bikes anymore. That probably maybe my relationship with bikes probably just wouldn't be the same ever again. Maybe that's just me. Yeah, exactly. Maybe that's just me. But Aldo made a good point himself. There was no traffic. It was probably a secluded. He wasn't getting hit by a car anytime soon while filming.
As far as we know.
Yeah, true that. It is the city of Chicago after all.
They might have gotten cut just for riding the bike, man.
Yeah, honestly.
You not to ride the bike, damn it. Ryan Poles.
Exactly. It was in his contract.
Yeah, no bikes.
Like Justin Herbert probably has in his contract. Like, you just look at that guy. You're like, you're a surfer, dude. No surfing. Not for you.
Hard Knocks made him ride the bike.
Yeah. The one thing he didn't want. That's cruel of HBO. Truly cruel.
Traumatize this guy.
100%.
Well, all those guys that they do features on, they get extra money. And so, they probably said, okay, we'll give you an extra $500. So try it from there to there, dude.
Here's some incense and a gong. Cross-legged, man.
Very funny.
You know what? I've always wanted to do that. To see if it helps you relax, but it clearly didn't help him make the team.
No, it didn't help him make the team. Although you can make an argument he deserved it. But that's my biggest
hell of a play, man. We're just like diving through the air to swat away a pass.
Looks like Superman. Oh my God.
Yeah. That was outstanding. Yeah, what was it? They also said he's been with 8, 9 teams in 9 or 10 years, something like that. I didn't realize he was that well traveled.
Yeah.
But
his nickname could be Suitcase or Bike Rider.
Excuse me for burping there. But yeah, he will be playing in the NFL. He's a kind of guy. All right, we need somebody, man. All right, we'll call Adrian. Can you play quarterback?
Yeah.
I mean, there are some bad teams in the NFL coming into this year, right? Like half the NFC is low end, in my opinion. And and then you got teams like the Patriots. Yeah, why not add one more? He's
played on 1/3 of the NFL teams.
And that doesn't count the Bears, I assume, because he hasn't played a game with them, right?
Well, yeah, it counts the Bears.
Oh, it counts the Bears?
I counted the Bears.
But didn't he play? Do you have all the teams he played for? Didn't he play with the Bears a couple of years ago or something like that?
Did he have a stint with the Bears and I'm not remembering? That would probably be true.
He came
round 7 pick of the 49ers 2017 to 2018. It was with the Seahawks 2019, then the Dolphins 2019, the Chiefs 2020, Giants 2020, Patriots 2021, Jets 2021, Browns 2021, Tennessee Titans 2022, and the Bears 2023 to the present.
Hey,
Okay, so he was last year. He played a little bit with
yeah.
the Bears.
For being a 7th round pick to be still lingering, lurking around. I mean, made it farther than any of us.
No.
A-holes.
No shit. Now, I want to talk about the quarterback position. Were you guys surprised that they released both Rippon and Reed? Because
the new rule.
Yeah, the Players Association vetoed the idea of having this emergency quarterback on the bench, which they did last year. But apparently they thought, well, that's just, I don't know what the motivation behind doing away with that rule. So the Bears are going to go with 2 quarterbacks in the 53-man roster. What do you guys think about that?
I hope that Caleb and Bagent don't get injured in the same game. I don't know who the third quarterback would be.
I think it's Roshan Johnson.
Is it Roshan? Because it's a
before.
running back, I think.
Yeah. And then punters always kind of come into play because they know how to take snaps, right? They can hand the ball off at minimum, I think is kind of the logic there. Like if a punter's real good at catching a long snap, he could probably catch in a shotgun formation and hand it off to the running backs for the rest of the game until you figure it out for next week. I'm surprised, but at the same time, how screwed are the Bears if both Caleb Williams and Tyson Bagent? Like, why carry one? Like, you're losing anyway. Why not give your best chance if they are healthy with that extra body at another position? Because they really are like so screwed. It's not even a guarantee they're good with these guys yet. We still got to see. We're all hopeful, but like if they both got hurt, I mean,
you only dress 45. The emergency quarterback I think could come in being one of the inactive 8 players, I think. And it could be a member of your practice squad, I think. But this year they changed it to where they have to be signed to the active roster.
Yeah, that's...
So he can be inactive, but it has to be on the 53-man roster rather than on the practice squad.
Aren't there better quarterbacks out there too still, though, that are not signed yet? Like I know what's his face, Tannehill, Ryan
Tannehill is still available. Yeah, I think the reason why they wouldn't go with Tannehill is Tannehill wants a job, an opportunity to be number 1 quarterback, and he'll want that same kind of money. And the Bears are not prepared at all. From everything. Yeah, we don't need him. Exactly. From everything that I hear is the Bears really love Tyson Bagent, and and his trade value with each passing day is just going to go up and up and up. And I'm not advocating that the Bears trade him. I'd love to see him finish his contract here, but at a certain point, if somebody calls you up and is desperate, I got a high second round draft pick for you guys. I just need a quarterback to show for Sunday's game. You might want to consider sending Tyson Bagent for a second rounder. Or
if Leonard Floyd injured Aaron Rodgers on Monday Night Football again, you don't think the New York Jets would be better off handing the reins to him? Or you're not telling me Bagent couldn't give you an equal or better chance to win than Daniel Jones if you're the Giants? There are all sorts of opportunities out there. I'm with you.
Yep, exactly.
I thought Brett Rippon had a good shot to make the team. I thought Austin Reed would be better on the practice squad. You'll probably see Austin Reed on the practice squad, but Brett Rippon's a 6-year veteran who knows the system, 5-year veteran, whatever he is. I think he came to the league in 2019, but he knew the system because he played for the Rams, which is the same system that the Bears are running right now. Matt Waldron, who's one of Sean McVay's assistants. But yeah, I mean, I thought Rippon outplayed him, but I mean, Austin Reed played pretty good for an undrafted rookie.
Yeah, definitely, and he shows the capacity to keep up with the playbook and the desire and so forth. I don't think he's ever going to be, a great NFL quarterback, but he could be a capable number 2 quarterback and have the type of career. Who's that guy, Chase Daniel? He's made like $50 million being a backup his entire career. That's not bad. That is not bad.
Case Keenum is another guy like that.
Yeah, Case Keenum. Wouldn't you respond to an ad, Vinny, that said wanted a guy to throw footballs occasionally, $1 million paycheck every season?
Yeah, and you're part of the team when you're the QB too, right? Because you're with the clipboard, you have the headset. You're kind of I don't know if I want to call you a backup quarterback coach, but like you kind of are. I think teams with good, smart backups benefit from it. We've seen it in Kansas City. We've seen it in all sorts of other avenues. None of the legends ever really went down that route, but the Bears, they got it going on with Bagent right now. He's a smart dude. He knows football. And I think he sometimes is one of those people that he's like, damn, I wish my arm could do what my brain is telling it to do because I'd be all world.
Yeah. He claims that he's got a shotgun for an arm, but I haven't seen it in any game. So hopefully we will, and he can alleviate that fear because last year he threw a couple of ducks that looked pretty bad. But aside from that, I totally agree with both of you guys and people in the chat. Flex Dick says Bagent has played better than Fields this preseason. I think
it's sad.
Might be some truth to that.
Yeah, there is some truth.
He's played better than a lot of guys.
For sure.
Jordan Love.
Yeah, a lot of guys. He's outplayed this preseason. You probably find 3 or 4 guys on every team that he's outplayed.
Mm-hmm. So are you guys like my wife, and she's had it with Bagent's dad? Doesn't want to see him in any more Hard Knocks. Doesn't want to see him at all, or do you like that continuing storyline on Hard Knocks that his father's there, through thick and thin to support him?
It's all right.
Not a Coke guy at all, but if I ever were to become one, he's the guy that I would want to my first guy to be with for sure. Because that guy, it just seems like he's all the vein, and he's an arm wrestler. You got to be some level of crazy, but also normal to be someone like that. I hope they use him to their advantage, firing up the boys, because I watch and I'm like, oh, sometimes he makes me want to run through a brick wall.
It's very true.
This episode of Hard Knocks, it had a bunch of shots of the guy, Tyson Bagent, for example, throwing the ball in slow motion and their hair is bouncing and stuff. It's I wonder if those guys are watching the show. Look, there I am. I look exotic there.
Well, in last week's episode, Bagent's dad says, "Oh, of course they're all cool guys. They got $1 million jobs. They got beautiful girlfriends and stuff." I'm thinking, yeah, that is nice to be an NFL player, huh? Anything else about this show? People in the chat, anything stick out or you were disappointed with this episode of Hard Knocks?
Well, the first 2 episodes were clunky. Admittedly, I think as it was trying to find its way and negotiate the McCaskey censorship arm. But,
yes.
The third episode kind of felt smoother, well-paced, scripted, and more like Hard Knocks of the past. And then we're right back to being a little clunky today. Unfortunately, they chose players who got cut, and stuff like that. It would have been nice stories if they had made the team or whatever, But all in all, I mean, maybe my hopes were too high for Bears on Hard Knocks. I still enjoyed it, but it wasn't as great as I, imagined it would be.
Is there one more?
Yes, there is one more.
There's one
Which
more.
to me is going to be weird because they're going to start next week's episode with bringing the players in and telling them you've been cut. And it's kind of feels like old news, We've known about it for a week. So anyway, anything else, Vinny, that you liked or didn't like?
I missed the vulgarity of Hard Knocks a little bit. Maybe I'm just an a-hole, but when I think of Hard Knocks, I think of it always felt real. And HBO, they used to do the thing for the NHL too with the Winter Classic. It was basically Hard Knocks. They would call it Road to the Winter Classic. And the 2 teams that were playing in the Winter Classic, they'd follow them the same way that they follow them in Hard Knocks. And it was, F you and F this and this sucks. And, this is, hey, I'm DJ Moore and I'm going to go eat cupcakes and ice cream with my daughters, which it was real cute. I enjoyed it. I wrote an article about it. But, it doesn't have that Hard Knocks feel sometimes. But as far as the storytelling and getting to know the Chicago Bears players from that point of view, I've enjoyed it.
I'm so proud of my young radio son, Aldo. Look at him go. Him and Joe Mandel. I was on the show with both of my podcast sons yesterday.
How about that? Nice, huh?
I could go for hours. It's kind of a problem.
Let's digress for a moment. And Tooch, what was the first time you met Vinny?
It's a great story. So I
get to hear it again.
Barflies. Some of them know I coached Little League for quite a long time in Hanover Park. I always had my team in the playoffs almost. I think I did have my team in the playoffs every year.
Not to brag,
but my son, I coached my son, and we're walking up. We had a game after Vinny. I think Vinny was in big leagues, and my son might have been in juniors or seniors, which are a league or 2 below. And we're walking up to the ballpark. I'm going behind. Sometime I would go in the scorer's room, just sit there and hang out with some of the board members. and someone hit this like towering fly ball to center field or home run. And I was like, who the fuck is that guy, man? I was like, they're like, well, one of the board members said, that's one of the Parise boys. It turned out it was Vinnie. It was like, hit the ball a long way. I was like, damn, can I get him on my team?
That's some power.
I was good at one sport. I sucked at football. I was a left guard.
Did you play for Hurricanes? Phil
No, I didn't play football. I only played in middle school because I wasn't all that good. So I only played. I played guard in middle school. I started, which was nice, but guard. That's right field of football.
Yeah.
But in hockey, my feet are flat and I can't skate well, and I never really played in a league. But baseball was the one sport, regardless of my love for other sports. That's the one sport I was actually okay at. So yeah, it was fun. I enjoyed it.
That's great. And your brother played all these sports. He played hockey. Your brother plays hockey still, right, Vinny?
Yeah, he still plays. He's a sniper. That's his game. He plays little to no defense. Kind of cherry picks. He's a left winger. So if you ever heard of Phil Kessel,
sure.
He said it out loud before too. Like he kind of models his game after Phil Kessel. Like tubby boy who skates up in the neutral zone, and when he takes the puck, he'll give it his full effort and he'll score. But when the puck's in the other end of the zone, that's the defenseman and centerman's problem. But he was a real good first baseman too in baseball.
That's awesome. That is awesome. All right, let's get back to the Bears. I want to talk about the wide receivers because I read this article on CBS Sports, and let me just start by asking each of you guys, where do you think they ranked all the wide receiver trios, the top 3 receivers on each team? Where do you think the Chicago Bears landed in their top 14, whatever it is, on their list? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And of course, we're talking about DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, and Keenan Allen. Tooch, what do you think?
Top 10, I'm going to guess. I'll say 10.
Okay. Correct them, Vinny.
Yeah, I'm kind of cheating. You told me through text message earlier, and I didn't look it up who was ahead of them because I wanted to guess live on the show. So you have my word. I didn't look up who's ahead of them, but they are number 2 according to CBS with Rome Odunze and DJ Moore. I like the pick for CBS because it's not crazy. The only thing that makes it crazy is not knowing what Odunze is going to be and not knowing how Caleb Williams is going to get him the football. If he comes in, let's say he has a year reminiscent of like a pretty good Jared Goff year. The Bears could be in the playoffs with something like that. Let's say he turns into one of those studs who's amazing right away, like C.J. Stroud or Justin Herbert. I'm not going to say Patrick Mahomes. That's ridiculous to throw something like that out there. If he became that, I might never wear pants again. Like, I mean that. Like, that's just an unrealistic expectation to put on someone. If he became that, we'll all cheer and go nuts. But until we got to that point, I'm cool with a C.J. Stroud or a Justin Herbert or one of these young guys who comes in and is just pretty damn good right away. I think that will be huge in ranking the wide receiver trios along the league. But I have one guess on the team that's ahead of them.
All right. Well, let me read what CBS said about the Bears trio. They wrote only one trio on this list has multiple players who totaled 1,200 or more receiving yards last season, and that's the Bears. Moore's 1,364 receiving yards ranks as the 4th most in a single season in Bears history. That's not saying much. And the 6th most in the league last season. And Allen is coming off recording a career-high 108 catches, the 6th most in the NFL last season. Both should benefit from lining up alongside another wide receiver 1 caliber talent in Rome Odunze, the 9th overall pick, and blah, 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 blah. So the selection of Odunze has vaulted this trio from 6th the last time they ran this earlier this season to number 2. So now, guys, take your guesses on who number 1 is. Tooch, you go first.
The Texans.
Gotta be, right?
That was my
Gotta be. Gotta be. Yes, it's a great. Now, I will say this. I love Tank Dell. I saw him down at the Senior Bowl, but can he keep up? Can he stay healthy? Because I don't think he played the full year last year. He's a small, undersized receiver.
A little guy.
Right. He's not as solidly built as Tyreek Hill. So that's one concern. And then Nico Collins, I don't know if this is correct. Somebody correct me. But besides last season, he was kind of just a journeyman for 2-3 years, never really amounted to anything. Tooch, you played fantasy football. Was Nico Collins anybody other than who he was last season? When Tank Dell went down, Nico really revved it up. That's what I remember of Nico.
Broke out last year, which I think was his second or third year.
Okay.
Played at Michigan, but I mean, the dude is 6'4", like 230, and he runs a 4.40, and he's hard. He's a load, but he's hard to tackle. Yes. I mean, he kind of blossomed. I don't know whether you say late, but I mean, I think he was drafted in the 3rd or 4th round by the Texans.
All right.
So I mean, he's kind of. I mean, he was. Michigan didn't throw the ball. They're pretty much a run team. And they have had talent at the wide receiver position. But
one of them was not David Terrell, who was drafted in the 1st round by the Bears.
Yeah, I mean, one of the receivers got drafted, Roman Wilson. I forgot where he went. He's a littler speedster guy, but he has some potential.
Mm-hmm. So, what do you think about the Texans there, Vinny?
Yeah, I think the Texans, we talked about it yesterday when we were doing them from a fantasy perspective. Tank Dell's listed as wide receiver 3 on their depth chart, and he could easily be wide receiver 1 by the end of the season. A lot of people love Stephon Diggs, as they should. He's going to have a Hall of Fame case when his career's over, right? He's been that good in his NFL career. But will the miles on him kind of start to show up a little bit and make him, their WR3 by the end of the season, which wouldn't be necessarily an insult if Nico Collins and Tank Dell kind of repeat what they did last year with maybe a little more luck with some health. And I think the world of CJ Stroud. So, and I was skeptical. I love when I'm wrong about an NFL draft because that means someone succeeded. CJ Stroud, I was bullish on it. I was like, oh, the Texans, they got Will Anderson Jr., who I was like all in on coming out of the draft out of Bama.
Traded back in to get him.
Yeah, and they got arguably one of the best defensive players in the draft and the best player in the draft, CJ Stroud. And Carolina stuck with Bryce Young while the Bears are still eating from that trade. And it's not even over yet because they have, a 5th next year or a 2nd? Something like that. Still reminiscent from that trade. So
you could draw a lot of parallels with the Bears, though, from what you're saying. Stephon Diggs and Keenan Allen are both nearing that age 30 cliff.
Yep.
And then CJ Stroud, a younger player, Caleb Williams, a young player. And then, Nico Collins. Yeah, a lot of the same things you could say about the Texans. You can also argue are similar concerns with the Bears. We don't. There is that underlying fear that, like Keenan Allen, this might be the year where he kind of,
would it be the first matchup in NFL history to play in the preseason, regular season, and Super Bowl?
Yeah.
That would be awesome.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, I've been thinking about that too. Could this be the year all of a sudden Keenan Allen's stats?
They didn't give him a contract he asked them for. Remember?
Right.
Yeah.
I was like, anybody home?
Exactly.
Hey, can I get a contract over here?
No.
I'd give him a bridge deal. See what he does.
Let's see how you do this year, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. So, it is true that, certain players, you look at Allen Robinson, his 2nd year with the Bears, he had over 100 catches. He had 2 seasons, I think, where he had like average 90 catches. And then his last year with the Bears, he did 40 catches. And then he went to the Rams and you thought, wow, that's going to resurrect his career. He's going to get 100 catches. Puka Nacua outplayed him, and
Marcus Robinson outplayed him.
Yeah. What the hell is a Puka Nacua? And so, and now today, Allen Robinson was cut from the team he's at.
I was just going to say, I saw him playing on the Giants the other day.
Yeah,
the Giants
unemployed.
I was watching that game because there's like the Giants are going to be terrible this year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, most likely they'll be one of the worst teams in the league. And the Jets should be pretty good, man, with great defense, a great offensive line. They got Aaron Rodgers and Breece Hall and Garrett Wilson. That's a good, solid nucleus. So that was like the Giants Super Bowl, this game. And they played, and the Jets were starting nobody, and the Jets smoked them, man.
Wow.
It wasn't even that close, man.
Yeah.
Like the Jets backups torched the Giants starters.
Yeah, they really did.
Well, now that Dan Aguirre is not here, maybe we can talk about Aaron Rodgers a little bit. You guys have high expectations for Rodgers. You think, Vinny, that he's going to play anywhere near the level he did with the Packers?
Well, Aldo, I kind of spoiled it earlier in the show. I did plan on asking you this. Do you remember who injured Aaron Rodgers?
I love the story.
Yeah. Go ahead.
It was Leonard Floyd, former Chicago Bear, who last year played for now I'm drawing a blank on who it
the Rams, right?
It was the Rams, and he injured Aaron Rodgers.
Oh,
yeah, Giants, wasn't it the Giants that he?
Who did Aaron Rodgers get hurt against on Monday Night Football last year?
Come on, Cliff, Victoria, Brewhawks.
It was goodness.
Yeah,
Floyd was on the Rams right after the Bears. That's directly the team he went to after leaving the Bears. But did he have a stop in between? I can't believe I'm drawing a blank on who it was.
No, last year
he was on the Bills.
The Bills, that's what it was. No, it was Monday Night Football division rivalry. He was on the Bills. He injured Aaron Rodgers. Do you know what team Leonard Floyd plays for right now, Aldo? He plays for the San Francisco 49ers, who Aaron Rodgers lines up against on Monday Night Football in week 1 for the second year in a row. With the opportunity to do the funniest thing of all time. I'm just kidding. I don't root for injury, even if you are whatever you want to call Aaron Rodgers.
7, that's right.
I think Rodgers is capable of having a good year with the Jets. I do. I used to think nobody past 40 can be a great quarterback. Peyton Manning won a Super Bowl at 41. But he stunk, and they had an all-world defense with Hall of Famers at every position. Tom Brady, he broke that mold. He was the first quarterback to be elite past the age of 41, and it wasn't the team that carried him.
Right.
He went to the 7-9 Bucks, and they magically won the Super Bowl the next year. Okay, so will Aaron Rodgers be the second to ever do it? If there's somebody in the league that could, I think it's him. But he's got to stay healthy, and he's got the talent around him. It's a good team. The AFC East is really good, though. The Dolphins, Bills, and Jets could each win 10 games. It's kind of like the NFC North in a lot of ways, and I think the AFC North is this good, too. Those 3 teams could win 10 games, and all of a sudden you're in third place with a 10-7 record or an 11-6 record. That very well could be Aaron Rodgers and the Jets. Not likely. They'll probably one of those teams will probably be 9-10 or whatever 9-8, whatever the record is. It's hard to add up to 17 when you're stupid, but I can't even say it with a straight face. I think a world where the Jets are good would be fun. USA Today predicted the Jets would beat the Packers in the Super Bowl, which Rodgers beating the Packers in the Super Bowl. It would suck watching the Packers go to the Super Bowl and run through the NFC, but I think I would sign on the dotted line for it if it meant they lost in the Super Bowl to Rodgers. I do think that would be incredible, but I do think they're going to have a good year.
What about one Bears fan dying for 10 Super Bowls? Would you sign the dotted line for that?
Oh, well, I'll volunteer. I would volunteer as tribute.
You know what I'm talking about, Aldo?
No, go ahead.
The interview of Caleb Williams.
Oh, part of my take.
Was it Barstool Sports?
Yeah.
Yes. And I'm sorry, I got distracted because I got a text message.
Probably the stupidest question in sports history.
Yeah, but you know what? It made it to Hard Knocks, right?
I know.
It did. Bragg's volunteered too. Our old friend Greg Bragg. He had surgery the other day, and I saw he volunteered as tribute too. So maybe I don't have to do it. We'll let Braggs do it. 10 Super Bowls coming our way.
Friend of the bar room.
Yeah, absolutely.
I know a few people I would like to, sacrifice. Present company.
40 years old and coming off an Achilles tendon tear. The odds are against him.
100%.
Smart player with a great arm, Greaves playing behind a good offensive line. He's got a great running back who I think could have 1,000 yards, 500 yards receiving. And then Garrett Wilson could easily be his Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
So,
great.
it's something that defense is good too, man. Jets will have probably one of the best defenses in the league. I think the Bears have a chance to be top 5 defense as well. The Browns are always a pretty good defense.
Mm-hmm.
So the Jets, I think, will be right up there.
Yeah, I agree. I got distracted there from our buddy Dan Aguirre, who sends me this picture from the concert that he's at.
Yeah. Smashing Pumpkins?
That has to be. I thought it was Korn at first, but no, it's Smashing Pumpkins.
Is he wearing a dress?
He's wearing an overcoat kind of dressy thing.
And Smashing Pumpkins, Glenbard North's finest, Tooch.
Yeah.
Look at you guys.
Yep, grew up in Glen Ellen.
Now, so again, since Dan isn't here, we can talk truthfully about this. Can that guy sing Billy Corrigan? Because I got to tell you, he's a great musician. He writes great songs and so forth. But his singing, I'm sorry, man.
Yeah. Nope. Not known for their singing.
Okay, good. It wasn't just me.
To avoid the wrath of Dan, I'm just going to no comment. I plead the fifth. I will take a sip of my drink now.
Good move.
No free ads.
Cliff Victoria says, I drafted Breece Hall with the number 5 pick in fantasy. He's going to have a great year. Guy is really good, and the O-line is too. Now, is that a PPR league, Cliff? Because if it is, people don't draft running backs that high anymore, right? Tooch, you're the expert here.
Oh, Christian McCaffrey will catch and run.
That's the exception. Guys like those multi-purpose backs.
Breece Hall's the AFC's Christian McCaffrey.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. I didn't know he was that prolific at catching passes and running. Frankly, Breece Hall got into the league, and who is this guy?
You can argue he's underrated.
Played at Iowa State.
Yeah. You can argue he's underrated.
So
sure.
Cliff, it looks like that was a good pick. Pick number 5.
He followed David Montgomery at Iowa State.
Wow.
Was Brock Purdy the quarterback overlap at all?
I think so, yeah. Yep.
Look at that. Cliff says Hall is as high as number 2 in PPR leagues. Yep. I'm not going to watch his film. I'll take your word for it.
He's on my radar to take him number 1 overall in the Barroom League.
Really? Yeah. You got the first overall pick?
I have the first overall pick. I'm not positive, and I told Tooch and Joe Mandel yesterday.
Oh, he was about to say something really important too.
Yeah, because he brought up your name.
We could talk about Saturday.
That's a great action shot.
Because Saturday, it's like when those old 70s sitcoms used to end.
Yeah,
like what was it? We're gonna do it. Laverne and Shirley.
Laverne and Shirley.
They would always end like that.
I love it. That is a
Nobody
great
remembers
shot.
That show, man. That was a great show. Too.
I know that was
So
Gary
funny.
Marshall director. Here it is. I love it.
Yeah,
we can figure out a way to. Okay, let's do it this way. And so. Oh Lord! So he has left us. Oh, I'm sorry. He's left us. He should
reboot the router, but
yes,
you can tell people about Saturday night. We're gonna have the barroom draft, which is always fun. You're gonna see like 12 guys in StreamYard instead of 2 of us here. There'll be 12.
Yes, exactly.
And then Aldo will have the draft board and all that stuff set up and everything. And Barflies can watch us draft our players, our team, and they can make fun of us too.
Did you see the action shot I got of you, Vinny?
No, show that. Flash that up there.
No, that is so funny. My stupid computer. I think because in that moment, I know my computer turned off and like it caught me, but I turn it back on and your computer shut down unexpected. I'm like, yeah, no shit. Why?
No shit. Wow, fucking
I don't even
AI.
remember what I was saying. I'm annoyed now. No, I'm out of here. See you guys.
It was the ghost of Bayless Jones Ferret getting in there.
Ferret boy. Seriously. I don't even remember what I was talking about. Something about me having the number 1 pick.
Something that you brought up Tuch's name and somebody else that you talked to on the show.
Yeah.
The
4 players who we thought we would take first overall.
And I don't mind sharing who I eventually come up with because you guys can't take them from me.
Right.
I always found it weird.
You're negotiating with the pick right now.
Yeah, like if I was Ryan Poles, and I mean this, I think the Bears could have made themselves a shit ton of money if he would have just came out in February and be like, you guys know who I'm taking. I'm taking Caleb Williams out of USC. You all know it. I know it. Like, I just don't understand the secret sometimes. And, maybe if I were a GM making millions of dollars and my job was on the line, I would have a different mindset.
Look in the chat. Herb Howard.
Hey.
All right. I love Herb.
One of the best beat reporters in the 50 years I've been following the Chicago media and knowing who the reporters are and stuff. Herb is one of the best. And we'll have you back on the show soon, Herb. I know you're in high demand. By the way, and he's now does postgame with CHGO, I believe. So he's added to his responsibilities. Congratulations, Mr. Herb Howard.
I'm a big fan of Herb Howard, and the only thing he knows about me now is how dumb I look when my computer dies. That's awesome. Good for me. I host all these podcasts. I do great work. I think sometimes it mostly sucks, but I'm all over the place. I write about the Bears for USA Today, and the only thing he knows about me is how dumb I look when my computer dies. Yay me! What a moment.
All right, so who are these 4 players in fantasy?
Well, go ahead, take a guess, Aldo.
Okay, so Christian McCaffrey, number 1.
That's right.
Every league should be drafting him unless there's some concern about his calf or whatever the hell is going to do this year. But he's going to play 13, 14 games. As long as he's healthy for your fantasy playoffs, you're doing good. So number 2, I keep thinking it's Justin Jefferson, and number 3, CeeDee Lamb, and now I'm told that Breece Hall, whatever his name is, should be up there. So tell me,
like JJ, but I would put Tyreek Hill there instead.
Okay, yes. See, and I had Hill on my Barroom Fantasy League last year, and he was fantastic.
Yeah.
My concern with him, he's getting to that age.
All the kids he has with 9 different women.
He's getting to that age where he's not going to give you a full season. I that's my gut feel. And with that first round pick, I would love to nab a guy. I got the 4th pick. So I would like to nab a guy who is going to be there for every one of my fantasy games, but that doesn't always happen. So, Vinny, who are you picking number 1? Let us know.
I'm torn. I want to go with McCaffrey. Because it's a safe pick. He's been healthy for 3 years in a row. I think San Francisco, I don't know if they know a secret sauce on preparing yourself to maybe not be as injury prone or some kind of health routine. The Tom Brady diet, I don't know what it is over there in San Francisco, but he went over there and things kind of started to turn for him again health-wise. I'm not too concerned about the slight injury he's faced so far in the preseason this year. I think he'll probably be fine for week 1. They'll dominate probably most of the regular season. But obviously CeeDee Lamb's in the conversation, Breece Hall, and I know Justin Jefferson went from being one of those guys to we don't know how effective Darnold is going to be at throwing him the football. When it was JJ McCarthy, there was a little bit of unknown as well, but in a different way. I think a higher upside unknown. But now, Tooch, I'm drawing a blank on that 4th guy we said from last year, in addition to Tyreek Hill. Or yesterday, I mean.
Breece Hall.
But Breece Hall, CeeDee Lamb, Christian McCaffrey, and then was it Jefferson, the other one?
Tyreek Hill.
Yeah, that's 3.
Right, and so the 4th one was Jefferson?
No. Christian McCaffrey, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, Breece Hall.
Oh, yeah, that is 4.
One day you guys will learn to count to 4. It's okay.
I don't need to count to 4. I have no interest.
3 is my limit, man.
I have the number 1 pick. Why would I want to count to 4?
Barflies, we're setting a high bar here.
Yeah, what am I counting up for? And when I come back around to pick a third, or no, I would be pick 21 or whatever. I'll just wait for the little thing to go ding. I'm not doing any counting.
You'd be picking 21 and 22 or 22 and 23.
Your team is now on the clock. Thank you, computer. Hopefully you don't crash on me again.
Really. Tooch, what slot are you drafting in the
I have the 6th pick.
Okay, so that's 2 after me. I got the 4th pick.
Yeah, it's not a great pick, or not a great slot, whatever, 6,
No super elite player for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's I don't think those top 4 guys will be there by 6. Maybe people don't know the secret of Breece Hall. But
we should just really hype up Caleb Williams, see if we can get anyone to bite in the top 5. No, you got to draft him, dude. So good.
I guarantee you, like Caleb, Cairo Santos, the Bears defense all go higher than they should.
Oh yeah,
for sure. But I'm looking at guys like Justin Jefferson and Amon-Ra St. Brown because after this is a weird draft because after the top couple running backs go, 2-3 running backs go, the high level wide receivers. And after those high level wide receivers go, there's not a lot for a while, and then there's some ones who like could really bust out later, you're thinking, but so I might take a wide receiver, with my first pick and just get one of those, alphas and then come back and because last season, I don't know if I think I was talking about this on Fantasy Football on Sunday. Only McCaffrey of the top like 5 running backs who were drafted in the top 5. Only one of them like ended up a top 5 running back in fantasy points per game. Like Kyron Williams wasn't drafted; he was number 2. Raheem Mostert, you get him in the 10th round last year. He finished 3. I forget. Travis Etienne, he was like a 2nd or 3rd rounder.
Right, Kyron Williams.
Kyron Williams on the Rams came out of nowhere.
Right,
and so I mean, you can get running backs later. It's just that's the Steven Zimmerman likes that strategy where he won't take a running back until like round 5. Just grab his guys then.
But he's never won, so take that.
I'm defending my title though too. So
yes, you are, Johnny Santucci, and Tooch started off great in the barroom last year, and then he had like a mid-season slump, and I'm thinking, okay, I think I actually passed you in the standings. And,
I think I lost 4 in a row or something.
Right, and then he sneaks into the fucking playoffs, and I'm thinking to myself,
number 4 slot.
This guy is gonna come back and dick me, and he did. Beat me in the playoffs. So good stuff. All right, guys. Let's see. We got a little less than a half hour left. Do you guys? Let's talk a little NHL with Vinny. What do you think?
Yeah.
He was wanting to talk movies, right?
A little Jack Hughes.
Yeah.
You want to talk about Jack Hughes? I'll talk about Jack Hughes. I could go for hours and hours.
Go for it.
Jack Hughes.
Give us your top 4 hockey players in the NHL.
The top 4 in the NHL right now, I think, is probably obviously Connor McDavid's the best player in the NHL.
Yep.
It's not close. He has transcendent speed, and he is on Patrick Kane's level as far as hands. And if you combine that with the speed that he has and the hockey IQ that he has at the top speed that he does it at, you could make a claim that he is the most talented hockey player of all time. Will he put up the numbers that Gretzky did? No, because goalies aren't wearing newspapers for pads anymore. But I think the way he plays the game is unlike anything I've seen before, and he puts up 130-plus points every single season. They were in Game 7 of the Stanley Cup Final, and he was a huge part of it. Connor McDavid's the best player in the league, and he will be for the foreseeable future. Second is the Nate Dog, Nathan McKinnon. Yeah. He won the Hart Trophy as the league's MVP last season, and it was kind of a break from Connor McDavid. I think McDavid had won it like 3 of the past 4 years before the Nate Dog won it last year. It was well-deserved. He led the Colorado Avalanche. They were missing their captain, Gabriel Landeskog, all of last season, and they had a second-round appearance. They lost to a better Dallas Stars team, but Nathan McKinnon, he was a 50-50 guy. I think if you're a 50-50 guy, it kind of shows your balance, like 50 goals, 50 assists. He's an incredible playmaker. He had a point in every game at home last year except 1. So it was just an outstanding year for Nathan McKinnon. Very fast like McDavid, similar shiftiness and ability to create at top speed, but it's a different looking kind of speed. He gallops when he skates. McDavid, it looks like he skates like Barishnikov, but McKinnon, it's more of like a gallop. Third, I would name Austin Matthews. Matthews is the Toronto Maple Leafs. He is a generational goal scorer.
Yep.
He's actually, so I think Alexander Ovechkin, he's 42 goals away from breaking Wayne Gretzky's all-time goals record. Yep. I think he does it by either the end of next year or the beginning of the following year. I think Austin Matthews has a chance to be in that conversation 10 years from now. I really do. He's going to have 500 goals before he turns 30, and then he needs to put together 300 goals between ages 30 and 40, and I think that's very possible because he can get to the front of the net. He's a big body, 6-something. He's kind of got an edge to him. He'll go to the front of the net, and the wrist shot is unlike anything I've ever seen. He puts his hands together when he shoots, and it's so changing eye shot that a goalie gets beaten every single time if it's where Matthews wants to put it. And then fourth place, there's a good debate. People would say Nikita Kucherov of the Tampa Bay Lightning. I think Leon Draisaitl, Connor McDavid's running mate in Edmonton, is in the conversation. Barkov in Florida. Sidney Crosby would make my top 10, and he was number 1 for 15 years.
Yep.
But right now, number 4, I would put Cale Makar, the defenseman on the Colorado Avalanche. He skates like Bobby Orr. And he's basically Connor McDavid on defense. And I think he'd have 150 points if he played forward, but he's so good at playing defense. Why would you want him to ever do something like that? And he didn't win the Norris Trophy last year. Jack Hughes' brother Quinn did, but Cale Makar is the best. I think if you were to draft the league from scratch right now, he would go number 2 behind McDavid just because of age and ability and position and Stanley Cup teams, Duncan Keith, Zdeno Chara, Drew Doughty, all these top teams that have won over the years. They all have that number 1 flight defenseman, and Cale Makar is the real Makar. He's the best in the league right now. And I think by the time it's all said and done, he'll be in the Bobby Orr, Nicholas Lidstrom, Raymond Bourque conversation as greatest defenseman of all time. That's my top 4 in the league right now.
Nice.
Now, are the Blackhawks going to be worth watching? Could they potentially get into the playoffs, or are we going to have another season like last year where it's just more?
You just have Connor Bedard, right?
Yeah, right. Connor scoring goals.
So that's just it. I do think the Blackhawks were worth watching last year, other than the 20 games Connor Bedard missed when the New Jersey Devils defenseman Brennan Smith smashed him in the face. It was a tough game. It was a tough blow to the head. It was deemed a clean hit by the NHL. Bedard's got to learn not to skate with his head down, hunched over. This is the NHL. You can't dance around guys like that, or you're going to have your jaw smashed into 1,000 pieces. But Connor Bedard, I think he reminds me of a mix between I'll throw Jack Hughes out there just because he's got the shiftiness of Hughes, but I think he's got a shot that is reminiscent of Matthews. Yeah. And I don't know if he'll ever have a 69-goal season like Matthews just did. I certainly think it's possible. But Bedard's got to find a way to work around the size issue. Austin Matthews is 6'5", Connor McDavid 6'4". Like these are big guys, Connor Bedard. But Sidney Crosby, by the time it's all said and done, he might be the NHL's all-time second leading scorer. I'm personally rooting for Crosby to have 700 goals, 1,300 assists. Crosby's like 5'11". Connor Bedard is right there with size. I believe he knows how to get to the front of the net, and I believe when we do our top 4 list on this show 3-4 years from now, Connor Bedard's name will be in the hat to be in that conversation, because I've really the only prospects that came out of junior or college in the last I'm 29, so maybe in the last 15 years that are as good as Bedard. I at least had the hype of Bedard, McDavid, Matthews, Jack Eichel. Jack Hughes was a huge deal. He broke all the United States records in the program. It's really Connor Bedard's right in line with that, if not ahead of a lot of those guys not named McDavid. So yeah, that was a long-winded way of saying yes. I think the Blackhawks are going to be worth watching this year because Taylor Hall will be healthy again. Andreas Athanasiou will be healthy again. Teuvo Teravainen and Tyler Bertuzzi are good line mate options for Bedard. So yes, the Blackhawks will be fun to watch, I believe. Playoffs, no. They're not as good as Winnipeg, Nashville, Dallas, or Colorado, the playoff teams from last year. And then even the non-playoff teams from the division, Minnesota, St. Louis, and Arizona. Utah. I don't think they're as good as them yet either. But I do think they're well on their way and will be a contender within the next 2 to 3 years.
And the NHL draft is when?
It's every June.
June, right.
So who was it the Blackhawks picked? Yeah, I was just going to ask that.
Yeah.
They second overall.
Yeah, so they came second to last in the league in points last year. And there was actually, for the first time in a really long time, there was no changes. The lottery changed nothing. The San Jose Sharks came in last. They won the first overall pick. The Chicago Blackhawks came in second to last. They won the second overall pick. And then it's reverse order from there in the standings. San Jose took Macklin Celebrini from Boston University. He'll be a stud right away. And then the Blackhawks took Artem Levshinov from Michigan State. He's Bulgarian, with a Russian last name who played college hockey instead of junior or pros overseas. So a very untraditional European way to make it to the NHL, but he's a big defenseman with a high IQ. He's not Cale Makar offensively. But I do think when I watch him play, I get Drew Doughty vibes. Just solid in his own zone. Can make an offensive play when need be, bomb of a shot, but he's not going to be dancing through the neutral zone, setting up the high-end center that he's playing with or whatever. But he's a good number one defenseman down the line, I think is possible.
You know, this guy who Bruja says he's coming from the Sioux Greyhounds of the OHL, Hayes. He's talking.
Absolutely. He's talking about Gavin Hayes. Gavin Hayes was traded last year in the OHL, so it's always funny to me when a prospect gets traded within the junior leagues. I was at the development camp, and we actually had Gavin Hayes come up to the podium and speak to everyone. So He was a real nice kid. He seems motivated. I'm not sure that at any point he plays with the Blackhawks. We'll see. I'm rooting for him. He's a real nice kid. He's, shifty out there. I think the point is that this team wants to be hard to make within the next 3 to 4 years, similar to what we watched with the Bears during Hard Knocks. It was hard to make the team for a lot of these bubble guys. We'll see if Gavin Hayes is able to make a roster spot at some point in time, or even if he plays in the AHL for a couple years before getting his shot. I think that's the likely thing. But they got Frank Nazar coming from Michigan. Oliver Moore is going to do one more year at Minnesota. Connor Bedard's obviously there. They're going to sign free agents and veterans. Leon Draisaitl's a free agent next year. Why wouldn't the Blackhawks try and go get somebody like that with all the salary cap space that they have? It's going to be hard to make a top 6 on this team in the coming years, but Gavin Hayes is a good player.
Hey, I want everyone who is watching and listening to know that Vinny is going to be lending his expertise to the bar room every Friday at noon with his co-host Frank Mueller. They talk about the entire NHL. So if I've played NHL fantasy hockey before. That was fun. And so if you're into that, that's another reason why you should be listening to Bar Down Talking Hockey Fridays at noon, their new day, their new time. They'll be going an hour each show for the first several episodes and maybe expanding a little down the line, Vinny?
Yeah, absolutely. I would like to get back into it. We reset the hockey batteries for the first time in the show's existence. Kind of took a step back in early July, and here we are. And the second week I texted Frankie, I was like, I'm pissed. This sucks. I'm mad. I want to come back. And so I got my feet wet with a new job, and I'm in, and as soon as that happened, I was like, let's bring this shit back, because you asked me my top 4 and I went on for 5 minutes about I just want to be able to do that again on a hockey themed platform where, while I'm talking, people want to know about Carl Lawson. Well, this is a Bears show. I get it. When it's a hockey show, people in the chat will actually care what I'm saying about the NHL.
Cliff lives in Florida. He's not into hockey, even though they got a great team down there.
They have 2 great teams. The Stanley Cup Finals went through a Florida team 5 straight years. It was Florida was in the Cup this year and the year before, then Tampa Bay 3 straight years. They won 2 of them when they lost to Colorado in the middle there, but. Florida, man, hockey is the Hughes brothers were born and raised in Florida. So,
one of these days, I want to go on your show and talk a little bit about Dale Talon, because he was the guy that built this 3 championship Blackhawks team. And I went on with David Kaplan and I said that, and they fucking laughed me off the air, saying, I told them Bowman hasn't done anything. He's gotten a couple of supplemental players for the core that Talon brought. Oh, get out of here. Get out of here. You're ungrateful. Because I called right after one of the Stanley Cups. You're ungrateful fans. I'm like, what am I being ungrateful? I'm just telling you facts, man. Dale Talon is a genius.
Stan Bowman had people fooled when he was the GM of the Chicago Blackhawks. They didn't kind of start to get on to him until they traded Artemi Panarin in 2017. And then it was let's look back in time. Well, Patrick Kane and Jonathan Toews were drafted. Toews was 3rd. Kane was 1st. Duncan Keith and Brent Seabrook and Corey Crawford were brought in by the regime before Dale Talon. Right. Before that, Dale Talon signed Marian Hossa, which is I think the world of John Lester. I'm not a Cubs fan. I'm not a Cubs hater like I once was because my team is 31 and 101, so I can't hate on the Cubs at all.
Dan Aguirre texted me the other day and said, Are the White Sox really 45 games behind?
Yeah, they're 70 games under 500, like on the dot. It's ridiculous. But John Lester's the second greatest signing in Chicago sports history. That title belongs to Marian Hossa. He's a mix of Jonathan Taves and Patrick Kane in terms of play style. Yeah. And Dale Talon brought him in. Corey Crawford drafted in 03, that great 03 draft, the greatest draft in the history of sports. Like, go look it up. There's at least 40 guys who played over 200 games in the NHL that were drafted in the 2003 draft, which is funny because the NBA draft that year, I think, went LeBron, second overall pick was a bust, but then it was Bosh, Wade, Carmelo Anthony. Those were 4 of the top 5. 2003 bred an elite basketball and hockey draft. But, the Blackhawks, Bowman, he made some shrewd moves that kept him in contention there a little bit in 13 and 14. And then when he traded Artemi Panarin, who I think if you ask me my 15 best players in the league, Artemi Panarin would crack that list for sure. He's all world, and Bowman traded him away for Saad.
Yeah.
And then he traded Saad away, and that was a bad trade. He lost 3 Brandon Saad trades.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
so,
and we can nitpick a lot about the things that Bowman did. I don't think he handled the salary cap well. And there were some good players from that first Stanley Cup team. Losing Dustin Byfuglien, it may not have seemed like a big deal at the time, but I followed that team so closely. I went to a lot of games that season, and that guy provided a certain spark and energy to the team. I actually had tickets for one of the games where I was right behind the bench. The kids wanted to go as close as possible, so Dad's going to be cool, Dad, and get seats right behind the bench. And I got these close-up videos of the guys coming back in and talking, and Byfuglien was just firing people up. And when he wasn't doing it with his words, he was checking people down to the ice and then coming back, and people were high-fiving him and stuff. And when Bowman let him get away, I was like, this is a mistake, man. Now, they ended up putting 2 more Stanley Cups in 4 years, but it was a mistake in my mind.
It was a mistake. It was a mistake because Dustin Byfuglien, there's 2 guys I've ever seen play like that, Dustin Byfuglien and Brent Burns. They were big forwards that pivoted to defensemen, went back to forward, went back to defense. The Hawks would have eventually put Dustin Byfuglien back on defense. Winnipeg did, and he became a borderline Hall of Famer. And then the Minnesota Wild had Brent Burns as a forward. They trade him to San Jose. He becomes a defenseman. Now he might go to the Hall of Fame one day. So Byfuglien was a unique player. And I think the 2010 playoffs, that was some legendary stuff. Tying Game 6 of the Stanley Cup final, which led to Patrick Kane scoring in overtime. Mm-hmm. The goal where nobody knew it went in the net, the famous goal. Dustin Byfuglien was a huge part of it. I mean, that guy was just ridiculous. To be able to skate as fast as he was and be like kind of fat, but also 6'4" or 6'5", however tall he was. It's a unique power forward that really doesn't exist in the NHL today at all.
And here's another Bowman mistake: the signing of Seth Jones. I'm sorry, he's good, but he's no Byfuglien. Yeah. He's not one of the top defensemen, at least from the little I saw of hockey the last 2 seasons.
100%. The Florida Panthers won the Stanley Cup because they didn't draft Seth Jones second overall in 2000 and I want to say it was 2014. It was Nathan McKinnon versus Seth Jones. Who's going to go number 1? Who's going to go number 1? Well, thank freaking God that Colorado took Nathan McKinnon. That would have been the dumbest mistake of all time. And then Florida stunned the world when they took Barkov. And I think Jonathan Drouin went 3rd to the Lightning, and then the Nashville Predators got Jones 4th, and he was good for them, but Nashville's a defenseman factory, and they shipped him off to get a center to Columbus, and then Columbus traded him to Chicago. It was a bad trade for Columbus, but where Chicago didn't air trading for Seth Jones. They aired giving him 8 sheets for 8 years. Yes. That's where Stan Bowman aired. Trading for Seth Jones, he's a good player. He's a good defenseman. I think if he went to the Devils right now and was their number 3, they'd be thrilled. Yeah. But not at 8 schmil. Or I think it might be 9 schmil for 8 years.
Right. By the way, who's his father? He played in the NBA.
Yeah. Oh, my goodness. What's his father's name? His last name is Jones.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. What is his dad's name? I forget, but he played in the NBA for sure. And then
Cliff Victoria.
Seth Jones's brother was on the Blackhawks for a hot minute there. He started his career with the Edmonton Oilers, and then he was in the NHL too. So good athletic.
Yeah, man, Grizz,
Popeye Jones. That's right. I did know that.
Yeah.
I don't know why the team can't stick out. Was it the Magic? I don't remember exactly what team he played for.
Wasn't that Cleveland? Popeye Jones was Cleveland. Anyway, he probably fucked the shit out of Olive Oil, whoever he was.
Denver Nuggets.
That's
who he's the assistant coach of. Never mind.
Oh, okay. That's where he's assistant. Last 5-10 minutes. Have you guys seen anything on the movies or streaming that you want to share with the audience? Tooch, start with you.
I saw Long Legs.
Oh, I hear that's really scary.
That was good, man. It was pretty scary. I mean, my thing with movies is like, I don't know how long have movies been in existence, man? 120 years?
Yeah, about 120 years.
It's hard to find original film.
Yeah, there are no original films anymore.
So I thought, like, as far as like recent stuff that was like new story creative, I thought that the Wonka origin story was pretty good. But Longlegs comes pretty close to being as original as you could get in the day of like everything's a rehash of stuff. But it's kind of like Silence of the Lambs, story an FBI agent tracking a serial killer played by Nicolas Cage is a weird, very scary.
Speaking of that, have you guys heard that Nicolas Cage is going to play John Madden in the John Madden bio movie?
Is he? Okay, I didn't know. Okay,
I don't understand that casting at all. Here's my guy. I let me see. Let me turn over to the
Frank Caliendo.
No, he would be good. Hey, there's Greg Gaby. What are you doing here, Greg?
Hi, Greg.
Get the fuck out of here, Greg.
If John Candy were still alive, that would have been my pick.
No, here's my pick. John Favreau.
Oh, my guy. I love that.
Right?
That guy has no clue how much I love him. I love him more than I love myself. I'll explain why when you get to me.
Because he's does the Marvel movies
and Star Wars.
Yep,
Star Wars. Yeah, okay, but yeah, it's Nicolas Cage. I don't get this at all. Nicolas Cage, man. What do you? Go ahead, Vinny. Why do you love this guy so much?
So Star Wars was going down it was fine. The sequels, right? The 7, 8, and 9 with Rey and all those characters. They brought back Harrison Ford to play Han Solo and Carrie Fisher to play Princess Leia, General Leia in those movies. Not to get real down and nerdy with you guys, but Jon Favreau is the director of The Mandalorian, which I wholeheartedly believe saved Star Wars. It brought Star Wars back into the light and made people kind of fall in love with it again and kind of be obsessed with where the story is going now. And the Mandalorian and Grogu movie is going to come out next year, I think. And Favreau is a big part of it. I was going to say I don't watch anything new. I wish I was cool enough to like keep up with what's going on. I watch sports, Star Wars, and the Marvel movies basically. And Favreau's a big part of all of it. He plays Happy in all of the Marvel movies. Tony Stark's one-hand man. And we're going to see where this Marvel universe goes going forward. But what he's done with Star Wars and bringing in Pedro Pascal to play Din Djarin, who is Mandalorian, and the invention of Grogu, the greatest kept secret in the history of storytelling is the existence of Grogu. Because I still to this day, like when an NFL player gets traded, we find out about it within 5 seconds because news travels so fast. How the announcement of Grogu didn't come until that episode premiered on Disney Plus. I think exactly that it didn't leak. This Yoda species is going to be a baby and it's going to be so cute and capture the world, but nobody's going to know about it until the series premiere of The Mandalorian. I think Favreau's a genius, and yeah, if he came on the show right now, I'd probably awkwardly just tell him how much I love him over and over again.
Well, it's not the first time a man has professed his love to another man on this show. Right?
There are a couple people I would do it to, but Favreau certainly high on the list. I would love to pick his brain.
Was that the first Star Wars television series or whatever?
Yes. First live action. because the
Okay,
Clone Wars.
yeah.
I know people think the Clone Wars is for
I'm
kids.
talking about like the
absolutely
reboot,
not.
you know?
Yeah,
the reboot.
no,
Yeah.
yeah.
So there, because there was the Book of Boba Fett. There was which was really good. The Obi-Wan Kenobi series, and then there was also the Captain Andor,
and then Ahsoka. And all these kind of connect too. So like the Book of Boba Fett would just be like a Mandalorian season 2.5.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So that's
really
what
good,
I love about it
Boba
too. Yeah,
Fett.
it was great. Boba Fett was good. There was an episode with Grogu and Mandalorian in it, which kind of connected the shows.
Yep.
Yeah, it's good stuff. I really like Star Wars. I'll always be a nerd on that end. People are like, you like sports this much, but you're that obsessed with Star Wars and Marvel and Yu-Gi-Oh? Yeah, I am.
Although that Longlegs has a really retro feel, like you like of those, 80s, 70s, 80s horror films.
Oh, I love that.
It's made in that style, like kind of like, the shot on film, like Seven or what was that, X movie?
Yeah.
X was kind of a throwback to those old ones.
Very much so.
I think you'll like it, Aldo, if you get a chance to see it.
I will definitely see. A couple of guys
has
are
a
talking
decent
about it.
twist at the end. Decent twist.
Okay, I love decent twists. Speaking of that, what about the M. Night Shyamalan movie? I don't know if that's been released yet, with the dad who takes his daughter to a concert to see some. And he happens to be a serial killer. I mean, I'm not giving anything away because it's in the trailer.
Yeah, Josh Hartnett.
Josh Hartnett. Yeah.
Oh.
You guys seen that or heard of it?
No, but
I haven't
definitely
seen it yet.
sounds
I'd like to.
interesting.
Yeah.
Is it out yet, or?
I thought it was. I know it's got a title.
I'll have to look on my stick and see if
one
I
word
unlock stick.
on your dick.
Yeah, Fire Stick. I have an unlocked Fire Stick. That's why I saw Longlegs. Man, it was great. It had subtitles and everything. It was really clean or captions, whatever.
But how big is that screen?
I would be willing to suck Aaron Rodgers' dick.
Hi, Dan.
Like I said, another man has professed his love for another man on this show.
How do you hate?
It's like Billy Corgan's dick.
You don't do that to people you hate. Do that to people you like.
Guys, man, I wish we had more time, but I want to ask you quickly. Are you guys fans of The Sopranos?
Yeah.
Okay.
I haven't seen it.
What the fuck is wrong with you?
I know. Well, everyone else watched it now. It's like years old, and it's too late for me to watch.
Okay, so I thought that too. With that, I thought that with Grey's Anatomy. I thought that with Breaking Bad, and I almost fell into that trap with Game of Thrones.
Yeah, there's no time.
I didn't listen. I locked in on those shows, and now they're some of my favorite TV shows.
I think when I retire, I will watch it.
Well, I was telling Frankie this a couple weeks ago. Next summer, knowing how bad the White Sox are going to be again, like I thought they'd be bad this year, but maybe at least watchable. I think next summer
gonna be terrible, huh?
Yeah, really bad. I think when the hockey season ends, I'm going to have like a backlog ready to go of movies and TV shows that I need to catch up on over the summer when my schedule frees up a little bit again. So that's the plan.
After the Super Bowl is where I can get back to watching a lot of my favorite stuff.
Aldo, watch any movies lately?
I have not. I've been too busy.
This is our busy season.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
And Mike North is coming back on to the bar room, so I've been busy doing some production work for his show.
The Mike North press conference.
No, we renamed it to the old show called the Mike North Advantage.
I love that name. I wondered where it went.
Yeah, he was throwing all these titles out to me. What about Soft Knocks? And I go, no, Mike. No.
A show that Mike North is on cannot be called Soft Knocks.
I know, right?
About that guy.
I know.
Soft. You're not, Mike.
So I told him, the title.
He is an idea man, though, I tell you.
Oh, my gosh. Yes. Mike has a lot of ideas. And, a lot of ideas is good because you're bound to hit on a few of them. It's like gambling, right?
Yeah, it's like a batting average. If you do your job 30% of the time, you'll make $100 million.
Right. By the way, before we go, I was going to ask you, Vinny, since Tooch is a betting man, can you give, if he said to you, Vinny, I got $50 that I won on a bet. I want to lay it down on an NHL team to win the Stanley Cup futures bet. So here we got Florida at plus 900, Oilers at plus 900, Stars at plus 1,000. Your team, Vinny, the Devils at plus 1,100, Colorado also at 1,100. Carolina, Toronto at 1,500 respectively, Rangers, Vegas Golden Knights, and on and on. Do you see anybody there that really shouts out at you? You say, Tooch, take that $50 and bet it on?
Okay, so everybody would expect me to say the New Jersey Devils because they're my favorite team. I do think they have a chance. They have the fourth best odds for a reason. They missed the playoffs last year because everyone was hurt, and they kind of remind me like Tampa Bay before they went on their run. They were really good one year, made the playoffs, lost in the second round, missed the playoffs the following year because everyone was hurt, and then they started a dynasty. I see a lot of similarities with this New Jersey Devils team. They went out and traded for an elite goalie this offseason, and that's the difference between last year and this year. And Timo Meier, Jesper Bratt, Jack Hughes is the best forward in Devils history. I wholeheartedly believe they will have a chance to compete. So for all those reasons, I do think my favorite team is a good bet. And when they're sitting there next to all those other teams, of course, that's who I'm going to say. If you forced me to pick someone on the list with no bias whatsoever, I really like the Vegas Golden Knights going into this upcoming season, and I have a couple reasons why. They've been off since April, and the Vegas Golden Knights haven't been off since April in 4 years. They were the Stanley Cup champions 2 years ago. They ran out of gas this year, but last year they made shrewd moves that I thought would propel them to kind of have a chance to go back-to-back. They traded for Tomas Hertl from the San Jose Sharks. They got Noah Hannafin from the Vegas Golden Knights. They still have Jack Eichel, who's one of the best players in the NHL, Mark Stone, Alex Pietrangelo. They got good goaltending with Adin Hill. And they're going to come into this year healthy, lost in the first round, motivated, haven't played since April. And the team they lost to, the Dallas Stars, they lost in the conference finals to Edmonton. It could have went either way. If Dallas beats Edmonton, maybe they beat Florida. Like that Dallas-Vegas team was very much, hey, the winner of this series can really go on a run. Sure as shit they did. I think Vegas is a good bet coming into next year because of those odds. There was the odds. There's good value on Vegas, I think. Plus 1,800 with all those teams ahead of them. Like I look at the Rangers, they're getting a little bit older. If their 35-year-olds don't step it up, it's going to be a tough team. The Maple Leafs are a really good team, but they don't have the best goaltending. Carolina lost a lot of their great depth on defense. Colorado's getting a little bit older. The Devils, you know how I feel about them. Dallas is really, really up. Those top three teams are like chalk. You could put your money on them, but those are like the short odds, right? Florida and Edmonton played each other in the final. Dallas is right there. I mentioned them beating Vegas in the first round last year. But, as far as value, definitely looking at Vegas with those odds. I think that's a really, really good team. Don't go anywhere near Nashville. Everyone's hyping them up because they signed Stamkos in the offseason. They'll be a good team, but if they play Edmonton or Dallas in the first round, they're going to get smoked.
So, Tooch, if you bet $50, 1,800 plus 1,800, that's
$900.
That is nice.
Yeah, Vegas, and they kind of remind me of the Chiefs. They could go into the playoffs, and you're like, we'll see. And then they rip off 17 straight wins, and you're like, how did I see this coming? It's Vegas. Like, only Tom Brady and Joe Burrow have beaten Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs. Neither of them are in the playoffs this year. So, why wouldn't I think the Chiefs can have a chance to win? If Vegas gets in and they're feeling good and Jack Eichel's healthy and they're confident in their goaltending, I think there's a good chance that they could be in this conversation next year. Now watch both New Jersey and Vegas miss the postseason next year. That would just be so on brand for Vinnie Parise. But I think I really, really like both of those teams' chances to go on a run this year.
Very cool.
And once again, Vinny's show is going to be on Friday, and then later that same day, the Tooch will have his weekend sports betting tips. So there's going to be some gambling talk on Fridays.
Oh, yeah, nice.
We're down talking hockey at noon.
Mike North does his show too,
and then Mike will be doing a Monday afternoon show.
And he's on ESPN 1000 giving away picks.
Right on Friday and Saturday, yes. And on the bar room, he'll be here on Monday afternoons, and he'll give away a Monday night pick. And that starts week 1 of the season. So, I've been very busy, so I haven't had a chance to see anything. I've watched a couple of old movies. Nobody wants to talk about old movies anymore. But that's our show, guys. fantastic show. Really brought the knowledge and energy. Really,
and then they showed him riding a bike.
I can't believe it, dude. I can't believe it. That's honestly insanity. You got hit by a bike, and you didn't just give up riding a bike forever. Like, I think if you have a heart attack, you probably shouldn't, eat fatty foods anymore. Like,
Exactly.
if you have diabetes, when I get diabetes, I'm probably going to stop drinking Coke. Like, if I get hit by a car riding a bike, I'm not riding it anymore. That's great.
Exactly. It's over with. That is hilarious. Great bear. Yeah. A great bear state of
They have
affairs.
this horrible story. They showed his bike on the ground.
And the car that hit him.
And then he's riding the house hall. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
He's riding the house hall. You're like, is he going to get hit again?
Why do women have a longer life expectancy than men? Wow.
They aren't riding bikes.
That's why.
Outstanding. All right, everyone. When are we back here? When's the next show? Tomorrow's Wednesday, and so
a week from tomorrow.
Well, yeah, we will be back here. I don't know. I gotta check Tuesday or Wednesday. But Buffon 55 resumes tomorrow.
Yeah.
Then they're going to move to Tuesdays, and I think that's the following week. So, but Buffon 55, John Buffon tomorrow. I think Mac and Reed are moving their show to Thursday from 6 to 7. Got a lot of changes. Best way to stay on top of stuff is subscribe to the Barroom Network's YouTube channel. And
Mac and Reed show.
Those guys are great.
Like young Johnny Carson. Mac.
Doesn't he? He's got a great fucking radio voice. Yes. And I love Ross's opinionated comments.
Funny too, Ross.
Oh yes, and 99% of he's right. But after that Hall of Fame game, he said, "I think Brett Rittman's got a good chance to beat Tyson Bagent for that second quarterback job." And so I gave him a little shit, saying, "I don't think that's going to happen." But you never know. But make sure you check out Mac and Reed and all of our shows here. They're worth a watch. And Vinny and Tooch, you guys are the absolute best. We'll talk to you guys very soon. Bye-bye, everybody.
Thank you very much.